It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're warm, at least if you're in the Northeast. The days like this is when I wish I was in the studios in Florida. Hey, maybe I should pack up the old car and head on south. But anyway, today's show is being brought to us in part by RainDaily.com. If you're looking to feel out of 1 to 10, if you're looking to feel like a 9 or 10, the way you used to, check out how this product can help you. They guarantee it. They put their money where their mouth is. They'll give you your money back if you try this product for 30 days. See what I'm talking about? Visit the website, www.raindaily.com. Don't forget about February 27th. JKJ Boxing is putting on another great card up in Syracuse, New York. So if you're looking to do something on a Saturday night, February 27th, getting ready for spring to come, check out Crowning the Next Champions. These are all young fighters on their way up. Catch them when you can afford to spend a couple of bucks for a ticket, so they're not demanding big dollars. And JKJ puts on a great event. You can visit the website, www.jkjboxing.com, to get the full lineup. Order tickets. You can get them at the door, whatever. If you forget that website, don't worry about it. Just go to our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing poster, which is right there on the right-hand side. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by the Normandy Gym and my man Danny Hawk. If you're a young fighter or an old fighter, I mean, B-Hop, no disrespect, B-Hop, but if you're looking to get out of town and focus on your next fight, consider the Normandy Gym in beautiful Miami, Florida. My man Danny Hawk's got a great facility there. You guys met him last night, in a way, when he kicked off a new segment we're going to be working on, boxing training principles. So check out the Normandy Gym. You can get to all the information by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on Danny Hawk's column, which is on the right-hand side. And all his contact information, plus his new segment, is up there for you. So check that out. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by our website, billycboxing.com. And don't forget my book. That's right, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold, including getting it literally right now on Amazon.com, Kindle, Nook, Barnes & Noble, etc. We got Fan Driven Friday today, so I'm going to be opening up the phone lines. So Fan Driven Friday, we're going to take one break. We'll come back. We'll open up the phone lines. Then we don't take any breaks until you guys stop calling. You stop. Hey, I might get out of here in 5 minutes. I don't know. Yeah, I might be here for 2 hours. It depends on you guys. I'll give you the phone number. We'll open up the lines here in about 15 minutes. But let's get you caught up in some stuff that's going on. Some fights that took place yesterday in Thailand. A couple of interesting bouts. WBO bantamweight champ Phu Lang Sor Singyu improved to 52 wins, 3 losses, with 35 of his wins coming by knockout. when he won a 7-round technical decision over Jetro Pabustian, who drops to 26 wins, 2 losses, and 6 draws, with 7 of his wins coming by knockout. A head clash caused the fight to go to the scorecards early. All 3 judges scored the fight the same, 70-63, in favor of Pu Lang. And he was doing pretty well, obviously. All 3 judges gave him a shutout up to that point. Also on that card, in an upset, Al Rivera improves to 15 wins and 2 losses when he took care of Shingo Iabuchi at 1 minute and 25 seconds of the 7th round. Iwabuchi was the favorite in this fight. He drops to 26 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. He actually had a chance to challenge for the world title against Walter Castillo, but instead he wanted to try and obtain the OPBF belt in Japan. And that's what he did, and came up short against Al Rivera. Some other news I wanted to talk about. I don't know. It was, we talked about it yesterday, but Antonio Tarver, the New Jersey State Athletic Commission upheld their suspension with him, and Tarver making all kinds of ridiculous claims, claiming that somebody set him up. He said in some quotes, "I'm telling you, I did nothing wrong. Somebody set me up. We have plenty of evidence, etc., etc., etc." It's the second time and everything. And he went on YouTube and posted it on some of the boxing websites, crying the blues, saying how he's a victim. And one of the targets, not personal target, but one of the targets was none other than Steve USS Cunningham, because it was surrounding that particular fight. And Cunningham went to the airways and returned the favor by basically telling Antonio Tarver to shut the F up, and to better get his life in order. And, although I kind of, have these peaks and valleys with my thoughts on Steve USS Cunningham and some of his outrageous things that he does, I agree with him on this one. That's for sure. I don't know, man. Antonio Tarver's probably done. Some big news. Big news. Big news. Chocolatito. Roman Gonzalez, undefeated, 44-0 with 38 knockouts, is going to be defending his title against McWilliams Arroyo, who's 16-2 with 13 knockouts. They're fighting on April 23rd on the undercard of Triple G and Dominic Wade. Both fights will be on HBO. And this is actually the third straight boxing card that these two guys, Roman Gonzalez and Triple G, have been on. So I see a trend there, and everybody's talking about Floyd 49-0 tying Rocky Marciano's record. Most of us think that Floyd is going to come back to break the record at 50-0. And it had stood for so long. Despite Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., I think, fighting like 80 fights before he lost. But nonetheless, it's all about retiring undefeated. And, unless something crazy happens, I don't see Floyd holding on to the record very much, too long. Not with Chocolatito hanging around in the wings. He's 5 fights away from tying it. He'll be, if he gets by Arroyo, he'll be 4 fights away. And he's, young. So we'll see what happens. We've been talking a lot about the PBC series and Al Heyman and, all the money that they're in the red. And, people, some people say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He knows what he's doing, Hey, if you're watching on a stream right now, or if you're listening on a radio dial, make sure you come on into the chat room up on BillyCBoxing.com. That's the one we support. And we look at it, and I just so happen to glance over, and I see a user in here that I want to give a shout out to, and that is Big Boy Boxing. And the reason why I want to give a shout out to Big Boy Boxing, first of all, I don't know who it is, and I would like him or her to email me. Well, I guess it's a him. When he gets a chance, because I appreciate all of the promotion he does for us, man. I mean, putting out on the YouTube the shows that are uploaded on YouTube. He puts out links to my book and all that stuff. So I just want to give a shout out to Big Boy Boxing. I appreciate it, man. It doesn't go unnoticed, that's for sure. Anyway, getting back to my thought. I don't want to lose my train of thought, otherwise, make it a short night. But we're talking about the PBC and maybe they're grasping for straws. We got the Sean Porter and Keith one-time Thurman fighting each other, and we got a lot of good cards on the way, that are already in the books. Well, check this out. A couple of really good fights have been added to the undercard of the Leo Santa Cruz fight when he's fighting Kiko Martinez on February 27th. Michael Hunter is going to be on that. Paul Mendez, who's a middleweight. Michael Hunter's 10-0, 7 knockouts. Paul Mendez is 20 wins, 2 losses, and a couple of draws. And also Claudio Murillo, who's 19-1. They're going to all be fighting on the undercard. Now, and they're not going to be even televised. That's going to be like, people that go there live. And this is my point. They do have the Showtime deal, and it is going to be a triple header. Leo Santa Cruz is headlining a title defense against Kiko Martinez. We also have a couple of good fights in Julio Ceja against Hugo Ruiz, and then a heavyweight matchup, 2 young heavyweights, Gerald Washington against Oscar Kaboom Rivas. And I kind of like Rivas in this fight. I'm not sold on Washington. But anyway, it seems to me that maybe PBC is starting to try to not only entertain us entertain the television audience, but also maybe trying to entice people to come buy a ticket to one of these live events. When you add 3 hot fighters like Hunter, Mendez, and Murillo, however you say it. You never know. You never know. It was also announced earlier today that Chris Eubank Jr. Has passed up his opportunity to wait in line for a shot at Daniel Jacobs, which he referred to as a secondary title. And he's now fighting March 26th in London against Nick Blackwell, who holds the British middleweight title. So Chris Eubank, once beaten, 21-1 with 16 knockouts, will be fighting March 26th. And we'll see what happens to him after that, because he's a decent fighter. I know that there was some talk about him possibly fighting Triple G, but I know that he wanted a rematch with Billy Joe Saunders, so we'll see what happens with him. Remember Omar Narvaez? He was undefeated until he got blown out by he lost to Nonito Donaire, but that was kind of like not fair. I mean, he had to move up a couple of, maybe even 3 weight classes, I think. 2, at least 2, maybe 3. But he most recently, in December of 2014, lost to Naoya Inoue when he got blown out in the second round. He's 40 years old already. I knew that he had a long career, but when I saw that he was 40 years old, I was kind of shocked. It caught me off guard. I knew he was in his late 30s, but I didn't think he was 40, and I didn't realize he was out of the ring for that long. Well, he did have a comeback fight, and he's trying to get back on the winning track. He's 44 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws with 23 wins coming by knockout. He's taking on Jesus Vargas on February 19th, and he's hoping to get another shot at a world title. So, speaking of shots at a world title, the former world titleist Zolani Atiti is scheduled to fight March 12th, and he's taking on Jose Santos Gonzalez. Atiti is 22-3 with 18 knockouts. Gonzalez 22-3 as well with 12 knockouts. They're taking place on the undercard of Terry Flanagan against Derry Matthews March 12th in Liverpool, England. But what I really like about this isn't so much the matchup, although I think it is a good matchup. What I like is what Zolani says. He says, and I quote, "Jose is a strong young fighter, but he's standing in the way of bigger opportunities for me. He's going to fall just like the others. I'm not preparing for a knockout, but if the opportunity comes, I'll grab it with both hands. We all know and this is the part, we all know these Mexicans are tough, but I've already knocked out one, so I believe this one can go too. If it goes the full 12 rounds, I'm sure I'll be victorious, but he'll be lucky if he gets past the 8th round." In this world of political correctness, it's almost like I'm sure somebody's going to get offended by that. I'm not. I mean, I'm not Mexican either, but I'm not offended, and I don't think anyone is. But I would think in this world of political correctness, somebody's going to give them a hard time over the wording of that. You know how those Mexicans are, But anyway, that's some news there. And speaking of news, how about Lucas Matisse? He's planning on making a comeback. He's been out of the ring a little bit, and he's looking to be on the undercard of Canelo Alvarez and Amir Khan on May 7th. The thing is he's coming back again at 147. Now, every other time he's fought at 147, I believe that's at least 3 of the 4 losses that he has. His record is 37-4 with 34 knockouts, have been at the 147-pound weight class, I think, or at least 2 of them are. He seems to still possess his pop at 140. Who knows if that's a mistake or not? We'll keep you posted on anybody that he will be fighting. So, one last thing I want to mention before I take a break and open up the phone lines is Jorge Linares was supposed to fight Dejan Lakatanian. The fight has been called off due to a reported broken hand by Jorge Linares. And you know how this happens all the time. This is not something that is shocking news or anything like that, because injuries cause cancellations and or postponements in this sport all the time. But Lou DiBella, who is the promoter of this card, is kind of making some accusations. He was really pissed off about it. And he had this to say, and this is a quote from Lou DiBella. He says, "I was told by my people on my side of the table that this fight wouldn't happen when we made the deal, and now it's not happening. The whole way everything went down makes me skeptical. But we hope to fight Linares, and the proof will be in the pudding. When he's ready to come back, will he fight us? We'll see. If he doesn't, there you go." This is very disappointing. When they heard that, Linares' team responded. They said Linares definitely wants this fight. He was fine with the fight. In fact, he kept calling us and asking us, when's this fight going to happen? We kept leaning on Lou DiBella for a date, and he kept saying he was working it out with Showtime. Linares was anxious for the fight. Clear case of he said, she said. And whoever you want to be the she, you can make that choice yourself. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, phone lines are open. 845-228-8710.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio with no worthy contenders. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own Catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy. One dream. One day. Everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase. Coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Don't forget about JKJ Boxing's next event, February 27th in Syracuse, New York at the Holiday Inn. Visit www.jkjboxing for all the information. Get yourself some tickets. Demand the Billy C discount. And also, if you're looking to feel 100% better than you do right now, check out raindaily.com. Find out why they put their money where their mouth is. www.raindaily.com. We're going to take one call at a time. So if somebody's on the line, don't call. But if someone isn't on the line, give us a call, 845-228-8710. You're driving the show today because as of now, if nobody calls in, I'm out of here. But Me First is on the line right now. My man Joel, what's up, brother?
What's up? Just as you went on the air, and Louis from L.A. mentioned in the chat room, too, shortly after I read it, I'm sure you probably didn't hear this because you were getting ready to start, get the show ready, but it looks like Roy Jones Jr., and I'm not making this up, it's from a reliable source, CBSSports.com, that Roy Jones Jr. is going to offer, I believe, $100,000 to any fan who beats him. It has to be a fan. At an internet stream pay-per-view, it's all legends, guys from grappling, mixed martial arts, pro wrestling, all on one night on an internet stream. I really think Roy Jones is seriously desperate because I've never heard of anything so ridiculous in my entire life.
Well, let me tell you this. First of all, Roy Jones, who's paying somebody? Because Roy doesn't have $100,000 to pay anybody.
First of all, there's a lot of questions. I mean, there was a small article. I'll send it to you when I hang up with you. But, there's a match with two MMA guys that's grappling, strictly grappling, because one of them signed to the UFC, so I know Dana wouldn't like if he got hurt. Then there's Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle in a fake wrestling match. And then there is I think there's an MMA match with Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock, and then you have Roy Jones. Roy Jones is the only one of the 8 competitors in the 4 different kind of combat battles, that's challenging a fan, and they have to send like a 90-second video. The article just just posted, and he'll choose them. But my question is, there's a lot of questions, right? Money, who would sanction this? I mean, they say it will be at the Celebrity Theater in Tucson, where I think he promotes some cards, if you're aware of. But would it be headgear? I mean, it's just how many rounds would it be? Would it be like an odd number of rounds, 3 rounds or 4 rounds or 5 rounds with 2 minutes? I'll let you, I want to hear your opinion, but I just had to get that out.
Well, first of all, it's an MMA event because if boxing would only allow boxing, whether it's amateur or pro.
It's 4 different battles. There's a grappling battle, there's a fake wrestling, like a WWE, which I like. Then there's a MMA battle, and then his Roy Jones fight is a boxing match. They're titling it a boxing fight.
I got you, but what I'm saying is it's still considered MMA, mixed arts. Whether they're martial or
martial arts. Yeah.
I left the martial out because like for example, as a matter of fact, Alex Perpali and I called a couple together, and I've done some on my own. Where I've done MMA type events where they do have boxing too, with amateur, with headgear. So I would think because of the rules of pro boxing, there's no way it's pro. So yes, there'll be headgear involved. They may even make it like white collar boxing. I don't know. My opinion of it is it's ridiculous. Roy Jones Jr. is a guy that was arguably one of the best fighters in history is tainting his legacy so much. I just don't understand it. He sounds like all his faculties are there when he speaks. He doesn't look bad or anything like that, but his actions are just, to me, seem like he's got, he's a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal. I mean, something's wrong, I mean, it's not right, and if he's trying to do it as a ploy, listen, Roy Jones Jr. already knows, and Square Ring Promotions already knows that his name does not carry as much weight on webcasts as he thought. He was on a webcast that was done by my producer, LDL TV, that did not do as much as Roy thought. So, despite people knowing who he is and a lot of people still loving him, that doesn't mean they're going to fork over any money. Whether it's $1.99 or $29.99, they're not going to pay for Roy Jones Jr., especially with some kind of circus act like this. It's I can't believe it, to tell you the truth. No, I mean, I'm not doubting it, but it's a joke. It's a joke.
But so that leads me to my next question. Doesn't he? And you can answer this for me because you know a lot better than I do. Is he not making enough money from HBO? Because if he's not, it's still a steady job, and I'm sure a lot of retired athletes, boxers, or anybody in their sport wants to get a job after they retire, would do with that, that what they did. If it was MMA, they commentated. I mean, my thing is, if he's not making a lot of money, he's still making money, and if he's still trying to do different endeavors, won't HBO say, look, enough is enough. We let you off that night. We had that card. You had to train. I mean, aren't they eventually just going to say enough is enough? We need you here. You can't be here. We're going to find somebody else. And then he's going to be in more trouble. I mean, I don't know the whole business. I don't know if he's making enough money. But if I was Roy in the situation he's in where he seems like he needs money, I would just stay with HBO and stick with them, be there consistently, do my job, and leave everything else alone and retire.
Well, let me tell you something. I've had many rumors. I've heard many rumors of what he makes for HBO. It was publicized what Antonio Tarver makes on PBC. All right, on Spike, he makes $10,000 a pop. What Roy Jones makes on HBO. Let me just say this: for 2 events that he does, I could live a year on. The problem that they have, and I say they, meaning former athletes, especially former superstars that made $1 million paydays like Roy Jones, is that they don't have the brains to, and I mean this, they don't have the brains to live within their means once that cash flow stops. So even though he's had some financial difficulty, and even though he knows that the money's not flowing in the way it used to, he might have a problem, and some people do. I mean, you see these athletes, not just boxers, everybody, they just don't stop spending money, and I think that might be the case with Roy. I can't, I don't know. I don't know if he's making money in Russia, if he's just banking all the money now. Maybe he learned from his mistakes. He's just trying to make as much as he can and put it away because he knows it's going to stop totally someday. I don't know, but it certainly seems awful fishy that he does things like this that could endanger him. I mean, his last fight with that knockout, he's lucky he can still, he's lucky he didn't spit out every tooth that was in his mouth. I mean, it was a devastating knockout. And for anybody that didn't see it, it's up on YouTube, man. So, I don't get it, man. I think more importantly, he's tainting his legacy.
I mean, at this point, I feel like, and this is my next thing I'm going to bring up to you, what I emailed you today. I feel like within a year or two, we're going to see somehow 2 desperate, way past their prime fighters try to make a 4th fight. I feel like it's going to be on some pay-per-view on TV where it's going to be Roy Jones versus Antonio Tarver, who both are desperate and think that they'll make money and they'll try to have a 4th fight because I feel both of them are desperate. And, and if someone makes a suggestion, hey, this is a big deal. You guys are huge names in the boxing world, even though they haven't been.
Who's going to pay?
I mean,
who's going to give him any money? Who's going to give him any money? The thing is,
you're right.
The thing is that at least Roy Jones, whether he's in whatever financial condition he's in right now, it's not being publicized. That's a good sign. Antonio Tarver, on the other hand, it's being dragged through every single media outlet out there, plus the news and everything else. The guy is in some serious financial trouble. I mean, they're taking his belts away to help pay some of the back child support.
That's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to jump into that because I don't want to take up the whole time. That's the article I sent you this morning. You got that? What I sent you?
I'm usually on the case. I have a tape. I have a ticker tape where I get every single boxing news. I pay for this service. To any kind of boxing news that's out worldwide, I get sent to me. So I'm usually up on things. Sometimes I'm not. It depends. Sometimes it slips through. But I had seen that yesterday. I think we talked about it on yesterday's show. We talked about.
I apologize. Then about the whole thing where he owes his child support and everything.
Oh yeah. We talked about all of that,
okay,
and I even quoted the judge, what she was saying, and he was saying, how am I supposed to get to work? I don't have a car.
Yes, you're right, because you brought up. I think you brought up how Al Heyman didn't bring him in or something because he bailed him out.
Well, Al Heyman, I was telling about the checks, because it was the Las Vegas situation where he was literally sitting in jail because he bounced some checks to a casino, and that's serious business in Nevada. And Al Heyman bailed him out and got him his couple of fights. And then what does he do? One time when I was in Tampa, it was all in the news in Tampa. The guy bounced a check out of Winn-Dixie or some kind of shopping, and in Florida, that's serious. Florida and Nevada, the two worst places. You don't ever bounce a check in either of those places, I'll tell you that.
It's just sad. I mean, do I feel bad? Somewhat, but I also think, at his age, what is he, 47 also? He looks great. I gotta say, Tarver looks amazing for 47. He looks better than me, and I'm going to be 32 this year. God bless. But I just don't, who wants to see him in the ring when he's looked bad? I'm sure Al Heyman can help him out, but no, TBC, there's no one on any TV slot is going to want him on their network. They're going to want him on the off-TV fights because he's not exciting. That Cunningham fight in August or whatever, I think that was August, was dreadful. It was impossible to watch.
Every one of his fights are dreadful and impossible to watch. Listen, he had a famous. What made him famous was his upset victory over Roy Jones Jr. Aside from that, name another good fight.
Was he? I wasn't a fan back then. I mean, I did see those fights on YouTube. But before the knockout of Roy Jones, he was basically virtually he was not known. Was that the case?
No, he was. It wasn't that he wasn't known. He was known. He just wasn't. No, he wasn't an issue. He wasn't relevant in the sport. That, in my opinion, he wasn't until he knocked out Roy Jones. Then that catapulted him. Then he gets the movie role. If you look at some of his stuff, like his Facebook page, he writes co-starring in Rocky, whatever one it was.
Yeah.
Co-starring. I mean, come on. I mean, he was the fighter. That's not. I wouldn't call that co-starring. But whatever.
I mean, that's just pathetic. Last thing I just wanted to ask you, did Larry and you talk at all on the side about the UFC card? Did he say anything to you about it from a couple weeks ago? Did he say when he went, because I know he has to go, but did he say about it, talk about his experience, if he enjoyed it, the atmosphere? Did he have anything to say about that to you?
Honestly, I did not talk to him about that, about UFC or anything. I haven't right now. I mean, I would get into UFC and MMA more if it. To be honest,
I wasn't. No.
But I'm just saying, like,
just the atmosphere, as I guess, because he's the commissioner in New Jersey. One thing I got to say though, and I watch all the weigh-ins for the UFC events because they televise them on Fox Sports 1 and all that, is a lot of these commissioners who have to do the scale always seem to screw up. I swear, even in Vegas, I feel like. But Larry, he was doing the scale the night before the UFC Jersey card. Man, that guy's on a ball. He knew the weight class. He wasn't fiddling around with the scale. He was doing a great job, and it's sometimes so annoying because you feel bad for these guys if they're going to miss weight, and it's because it's the commissioner running the scales making a mistake. He's screwing up. He's in the wrong weight class or something. But Larry's really on the ball with that stuff. I got to give him a lot of credit.
Well, it's like we always say with Larry. And my point about what I was saying about the UFC is it's just not on my mind. If somebody was paying me to do it, and I don't want to sound materialistic, but I do enough stuff for nothing, you know. But I would definitely do it for that. But my point, we always talk about with Larry, is Larry's a boxing guy. He knows about weigh-ins. He knows about the sport. You know, he boxed. He was a referee. He was a judge. You know, he's a commissioner. You know, this is a guy that's been involved in the business his whole life. You know, a lot of commissioners, believe it or not, Joel, a lot of commissioners are appointed for some political, you know, return of a favor, and they don't know
of course.
They don't know a left hook from a fish hook. You know, I mean, it's pathetic what some of these people that are running the sport. It's the only sport in the world that has people that don't know shit about it running.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing else. There's not enough. You try and get somebody that doesn't know football and get them involved in that
as
sport.
a referee or something, right?
Never happened. You know, except in boxing. All you need in boxing is money in your bank account, and you're in, my man. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I hope, I don't know if Larry's listening to this or he plays it, but you know, he does a great job. You know, I saw him the next night. You know, ringside, like all the commissioners. You know, it's good to, you know, hear. It's good to know you guys are friends, and he calls in because you know this guy is not doing it because, you know, Chris Christie said, hey, look, you know, you took me out for dinner that night. Look, I'm going to give you the commissioner job. You deserve it. You know, there's a guy that really knows the sport. He knows combat sports. He knows weigh-ins. He did boxing. Isn't his son a ref or something, or is he a judge? I forget if he's a judge or a ref. His son.
He's a judge. Yeah.
Larry
has a
God
junior.
Bless.
Yep.
But all right, buddy. Look, I'll let you take some other callers. Maybe Dax will call, and I'd love to hear what he has to say. But look, you have a great weekend. I hope you keep those 3 sweatshirts on, because if it's going to hit -20, man, I don't know. I'm panicking over -1. I'm worried about myself. I should be worried about you.
I'm dressed casual today. I got you know, a long sleeve T-shirt. I got a shirt underneath. I got a sweatshirt on now. I mean, hey, and I'm still freezing my ass off. So.
All right, buddy.
Inside.
Look, thanks so much for your time. As always, you have a wonderful weekend, all right?
You too, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. Definitely. Bye.
That's my man, Joel. You can find him in the chat room, man, up on BillyCBoxing.com. Hey, listen, speaking of viewers and listeners, I gave a shout-out to Big Boy Boxing, who helps promote us, which I love, you know, and I appreciate everybody out there that promotes. But I want to give a shout-out to one of our listeners. He's part of the Billy C Challenge and everything else. James Keister, and you can check out his blog, jameskeister.com. Happy birthday, James. And how do I know? Well, I admit I did get a notice on Facebook, but thanks to your friend, Carla, she sent us an email and said that you're always quoting some funny things that I say. And she says, hey, I don't know nothing about boxing, but I don't know if you do a shout-out, but she wanted to make sure that we gave a shout-out to James Keister, whose birthday it is today. So happy birthday, James. I'm sure you're happy that you finally hit the big 3-0, man. So congratulations. You go out there and have a couple of scotches on me. Finally hit 30. You're even younger than Joel, you know, so... You know, we that's all you got to tell everybody, that you hit 30, James. That's it. So happy birthday to James. Also, I got an email from my man Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C, what's your thoughts on a possible... By the way, the phone line is open, 845-228-8710. Hold that thought, because I'll be... we got my man Dax on the line here in a second. I'm going to go to him in 1 second. So when I tell you the line's open again, then you can call, because you can't call now because Dax is on. But Jesse says, hey, Billy C, what's your thoughts on a possible bout between Antonio Orozco and Miguel Acosta? It's already signed, sealed, and delivered. But anyway, he says, last time I saw Acosta, he was knocked out by Rios. These types of fighters that will not him better, not make him better, maybe you're saying. He was once pretty good, Acosta, but not anymore. Your thoughts? I want to see him against Felix Diaz, Solomon, Arawaka, Dimitri, or Algieri. You know, I like the fight. I mean, I think you might be talking about Orozco fighting Acosta, that Acosta is not up to par. You know, listen, as much as I say that I like fighters to be, you know, moved along progressively, like, increase their level of opposition, you can't have a guy, you know, go from, go from one level and jump all the way up to championship level either. I mean, progressive, you know, and I think this fight is in line. I like the fight. I think it's, maybe a 60-40 fight. So he says, Billy, the fight of Mexican-Russian versus Valdez should be good, but I think Valdez will be too fast and powerful for the Russian. Listen, Valdez against the Russian, I think you're talking about on the undercard of that Showtime card. Listen, all of the fights that have been being announced, at least the big fights, not some of these little garbage ones that aren't, that are around some other places. A lot of these big fights that are being promoted, on TV and stuff, I like them. They're pretty good. So thanks for the email. Dax is with me right now. What's up, brother?
Yeah, first of all, I like the Roman Gonzalez McWilliams Arroyo fight.
You know what? It's an interesting fight. I know you love Chocolatito, and McWilliams Arroyo is a fighter that, it's almost great timing that you brought that up, because it's just what I was just saying. This was a guy that was coddled a little bit, or maybe I shouldn't use that word coddled, but he was overprotected. Then he gets put into a tough fight, loses, then gets upset. He was in like an upset fight. So although I think that he's a quality fighter, man, this is quite the step up for him, though, don't you think?
Roman Gonzalez is a step up for anybody right now. Let's tell the truth. Yes, I'm a huge Roman Gonzalez fan. Obviously I speak about him all the time. I talk about him, well, not all the time, but I talk about him on social media. I'm a big supporter of Roman Gonzalez because I really appreciate his skill set and the fact that he fights anybody. But as far as McWilliams Arroyo, I won't go and say that he was coddled, Bill. It's a hard division. If you don't have the right promoter and you're not in the right place, there's not a lot of competition. Most of his fights took place in Puerto Rico. He lost that one fight early on, but when he lost to a Runrong, that was no upset. As a matter of fact, McWilliams Arroyo did better than I expected, because Runrong is a fantastic fighter. Matter of fact, I would love to see him against Roman Gonzalez, but this is certainly a big step up for him. My concern here is Roman Gonzalez really going to run out of challengers? Who's he really going to fight? There's only a couple more guys in that division that I believe, Runrong being one of them, and then, of course, maybe you have Ioka, and that's about it. Then you have the Thailand fighter, what's his name? I can't even pronounce.
Which fighter? The guy that
Porchakchi.
What fight is that?
Yeah. He's another featherweight from over in Thailand. His last name is Porchakchi. That's the only really other challenge for Roman Gonzalez.
Well, he said that he wanted to move up, and he's got some good. He's got some good fights in those lower weight classes. Like if I look, I've been keeping our list right here just for reasons like this. But if you look at some of the fighters in his weight class, now remember, these guys can go up and down, right? He was talking about moving up, but Juan Francisco Estrada, right? He fought Brian Viloria, right? Wasn't that the last fight that he had on?
He fought Viloria. He beat Estrada.
Yeah, but that was a while ago. But he beat Estrada a while ago. McWilliams Arroyo, you're right. He's got everybody in that division. He's pretty much cleaned out. He's talking about moving up. You got that fight Inoue. That's a good fight. Maybe he moves up. Zolani Teat is a guy that is getting back in the mix. Maybe he's getting ready for that. I see some good fights in those lower weight classes. I want to. For some reason, I wanted to see a rematch with Juan Francisco Estrada. I don't know.
I thought they were going to have one. They were speaking about it, and then I don't know what happened with that. And when I heard that there were negotiations for the McWilliams Arroyo fight, I was surprised, because I was actually hoping that the Juan Francisco Estrada fight would come off.
Well, remember they were talking about my guy, the guy that I love, Giovanni Segura, decided not to take a fight. He had a fight lined up with someone else, and then the rumor was that he was going to fight Chocolatito, and I guess that fell through or something, because they announced McWilliams Arroyo instead.
Yeah, if he steps up to super flyweight, there's a lot of good guys at super flyweight. I would love to see him in there against. Arroyo, McWilliams' brother, would be a great one, and the Mexican guy, who's Carlos Cudras, and then of course the other Japanese fighter is Naoya Inoue. But the problem with that is, people forget that Roman Gonzalez comes from over at the Taiken Gym, and a lot of these guys were sparring partners and training partners. So, for them to go against each other, won't make for exactly the greatest of fights because they've been in there working out for so long and sparring each other for so long. They know each other so well.
Did you hear, because people are saying that he's the new pound-for-pound top guy. Did you hear that Floyd Mayweather says that he can't possibly be pound-for-pound number one unless he fights Triple G?
I'm sure that was sarcasm.
Yeah, but
I'm hoping anyway.
Don't be surprised if he says that or something. If he's that good, why does he fight?
As a matter of fact, the last time I do remember hearing Floyd Mayweather talk about Roman Gonzalez, and he's a big fan of his skill set, which I think pretty much everybody is. You have to be a boxing, as you said about Larry Hazard, you have to be a boxing guy. Boxing people, they watch all the weight classes, and what you do is you don't so much look at what's on the surface. You actually look at the way the guys deliver their punches and the footwork, and that's when you truly appreciate. That's how you appreciate a guy like Guillermo Rigondeaux. Yes, the fights can be kind of boring, but when you're sitting there as a boxing person and you see how effortlessly he does what he does, I mean, it dazzles you, it amazes you. Roy Jones, there was a guy, when Roy Jones was a super middleweight, I remember sitting there watching him, and Bill, my jaw would just drop the way the reflexes, would come, and he would just hit guys out of nowhere, and they would fall, and he would toy with them, and not just... And I'm not talking about C-level fighters. We're talking about, world caliber, elite fighters. He toyed with them, and you have to appreciate stuff like that. As far as what,
but wait, let me interrupt you for a second. And based on that, don't you think he's tarnishing that by doing what he's doing? He's becoming a circus. It's like a WWE thing. He's become a cartoon character.
It absolutely is. We speak about that all the time, and not just us. Everybody nowadays is speaking, how the sport is becoming more WWE-like. I don't really know if it's because it's a business standpoint, as popular as wrestling is, and when you consider other organizations or other styles of combat sports like the UFC, they have these reality shows, and this is what helps increase their popularity. And, maybe boxing is saying, this is kind of what we need to do. Boxing is, what people call like an old man sport. It's not the new age. Nothing has changed in the sport over the years. Yeah, maybe, there's a lot of titles that have come involved, but, it's still the same thing. It's two guys getting in the ring, and, the scoring system is the same. The rules are the same. Nothing has changed. So you got to kind of find something to, entertain fans. How many times have we been to cards and we're sitting there when there's a long break in between, fights, and you're sitting there saying to yourself, now what do we do? People actually who pay money for tickets, we get in there under media credentials because we're there to do a job. But you see, people actually paying for tickets are leaving because they're bored.
Right. No, I think they're trying to remedy that. It seems at least the PBC series is trying to remedy that. They're putting together some nice cards. I mean, I think that maybe they're doing this because they have to, because they're at the end of the timeline or whatever. But I'll tell you what, there's some good stuff coming up, man.
Yeah, Olivia Goodwin. When she first got her promoter's licenses, not only, the youngest promoter ever, she's 17 years old. She was, the youngest licensed promoter ever. And when I was speaking to her, she had all these ideas that at the time when I was talking to her on the phone, because she's overseas, I kind of felt, I giggled a little bit. She's talking about, well, in between fights, what I want to do is I want to get cheerleaders come, and I want to have my friends acrobats in the ring, and I giggled to myself. I'm like, are you serious? But, then again, I'm saying to myself, like I just said now, you know what, maybe I'm the one who's kind of out of the times because, as I just stated, we get people buying tickets that are literally leaving before a main event because they're so bored. So maybe, it's a new era, and this is what the younger fans want to see. They want something a little different, and not that I support it, but in the end, what matters is that the fights themselves, once the bell starts, they're legitimate 100%. There's no acting, there's no playing. The guys, they go in there, they train 100% in camp, and, they do their job at that point in time. Whatever leads up to it, I guess, it's a change of the times, Bill, and we got to suck it up, man.
No, listen. Somebody was talking to me the other day, and can't we? Can't it go back? Can't this? And that? I'm like, you can't just expect, these guys to take their claws. I say these guys, the sanctioning bodies, and what we end up with are guys like Charles Martin as world champions. No disrespect to him, it's not his fault that Glasgow's knee broke or whatever happened to it during the fight. It's just. And then you end up with what you got, I mean, even as much as I love Anthony Joshua, and I hope that he gets the shot with Martin, I really do. I love Anthony Joshua, but in my opinion, he still needed a year or so to get a little more experience and become, a household name. And he's gonna. How can you pass up that opportunity if it's offered to him? How can he pass it up?
You can't, you absolutely hit it on the head. But, then again, that's something that refers, to the old school style of it. How many times throughout history do you see a fighter who generates a lot of interest early in their careers, and the second that, the marketability happens and everybody else is making the money, and usually they're making more money than the fighters, they're going for broke. One of my favorite fighters of all time, is Fernando Vargas. Matter of fact, when Canelo had fought Matthew Hatton, I was so angry at the fact Canelo broke Fernando Vargas' record as the youngest 154-pound champion of all time because he fought a blown-up welterweight, and that fight was given to him on a silver platter pretty much. I was outraged that this happened to Vargas, and I remember speaking to him one time, I think it was right before the Mayorga fight, where he was saying, so early in my career, I never had a chance, I never had a break. I wasn't ready for this gauntlet that they stuck me in there with. I was fighting Corte and Yuri Boy Campus back when Yuri Boy was Yuri Boy, and so on. And he goes, that took a lot out of me so early in my career. If that didn't happen to me, I would still be a fighter in my prime condition, regardless of the De La Hoya and the Trinidad fights, because by the time I stepped in with De La Hoya and Trinidad, I was already battle-worn. And, that's what we see with a lot of these guys. And that could happen to an Anthony Joshua if they don't handle him correctly.
Well, the difference is that the boxing's a lot different. And he was I think he was with Duva at that time, and Duva was putting him in, with big money fights, and he wasn't. I loved him. He was Francisco. Vargas was. Francisco Vargas was. I loved him. He was a warrior. You know who you reminded me? Remember, I think his name was Francisco Bajado.
Pachito. Francisco Pachito Bajado.
They called him Babyface. He was another guy. There was another guy that they just shot up the ladder really quick. And
they modeled him after Vargas. Remember the same haircut when Vargas started. He had, what they call the schoolboy haircut.
Yep.
Short all around, and you have that little length in the front.
Yep.
Like a young Vargas, he had it dyed blonde, and they tried to mirror image him against the Vargas.
And the thing is, Bajado was like 17 or 18, and he was really good. I loved him, and then all of a sudden they put him in same thing as Fernando, and he disappeared, and they ruined him. Listen, it's a catch-22. You can't overprotect him, but you can't throw him to the wolves either. That's why I constantly say the best way to do with a fighter is to progressively increase the level of opposition, and until they're established, and then you run with it. Nothing for nothing, but Oscar De La Hoya did that. This was a guy that was on the world stage, and he moved up the way he should. Even future Hall of Famers in Bernard Hopkins, same thing. He didn't jump out. Even Roy Jones, these guys. They moved up the right way. Mike Tyson, come on.
Well, that's according to a good manager and a good trainer. That they know their fighters' limitations, and what they'll do is if they care about their fighters. And that's the problem. Not everybody cares about their fighter. And if they care about their fighter, what they do is they know exactly how many more fights they need. Teddy Atlas, I remember Teddy Atlas was blasted because he would not allow Povetkin that fight with Klitschko. He said, he's not ready. And everybody was just so against it. I don't know if it was the fact because they wanted to see Klitschko in a more exciting fight than the ones he was in. Pretty much all his fights at that point in time were up until retirement pretty boring. And they thought that, this would be the one exciting fight with Klitschko. But Teddy Atlas knew, my guy isn't ready, and I'm not going to put him in there because what's going to happen is Vladimir Klitschko is going to ruin him, whether it be mentally or physically. And Teddy Atlas was criticized for that. And a lot of people that put like fighters we mentioned, a lot of people that put these fighters in when they're not ready, it ruins them. And what's the worst thing you can do is ruin a fighter mentally. Not physically, but mentally is the worst thing you can do. When Miguel Cotto fought Alfonso Gomez had been on the Contender, and he was really, full of himself. He was feeling great. He had a couple good wins. I think he had the win over Arturo Gatti, a very favorite Arturo Gatti, let's speak. But then he had his shot against Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto just beat him senseless over 5 rounds, and he just literally not only beat him physically, but he beat him mentally. And I remember getting an email from somebody on that team asking me, somebody is saying to us, what do you think's the best thing to do? Should we get him right back in there, or should we give him some time off? I say, you got to judge that for yourself. How bad is he hurt physically? Because, it's the mental thing. The longer you let him sit on the side, and he's been embarrassed, thoroughly embarrassed, and, he's been crushed down because you guys built him back up, that's the worst thing you can do, because then he starts doubting himself later on. It's a fight he should have never been in.
Listen, first of all, during that whole thing with Gomez, I knew he had like a private matchmaker, and I knew the guy, and they were. He started believing his own press clippings that he was better than he was. Forget the Contender. I mean that was probably the toughest opposition he had. But just going back, I was one of the guys that I disagree with you, I guess, with the Teddy Atlas and Povetkin thing, and I'll tell you why. Because
yes, you did, matter of fact.
No, I still do, and I'll tell you why. I tell you why.
I mean, you disagreed with me on the show.
I know, but let me tell you, the reason is, and I agree with your reasoning. You're mentally ruin them and all of these things. I agree with that. If you were dealing with a fighter that wasn't stable, you're talking about Povetkin at the time was a champion, or he was wasn't he the WBA champion or something?
I believe he was.
I think that he was. I think that he was. But anyway, now I'm going blank if he did or not. Anyway, the point was that he was an established fighter, and there's certain rules to follow. It's the same rule I feel about Anthony Joshua. Although I agree that he's not ready. I just said it. I didn't think he was ready. There's some things in boxing that you can't not do. When you're offered a shot at a world title and it's coming with a nice big payday, it's really stupid to close that door from a business perspective. I mean, after all, these guys are in this to make a living, all right? Alexander Povetkin should have taken that fight. It was $1 million payday that he would have gotten, all right? Even if he ends up with half that money or whatever, he still has it. The flip side, even if he comes out losing, let's say he gets destroyed, all right? The heavyweight division especially is a division that's forgiving. It wasn't like his career was going to be over. The problem that I had with that decision of Teddy Atlas was the fact that Teddy Atlas said he wasn't ready. My guy's not ready because Teddy hadn't finished trying to brainwash him to break him down and reteach him. This wasn't a young fighter. This wasn't a fighter that didn't have a style already. This was Teddy Atlas's ego trying to break down the guy and turn him into what Teddy knew. And Teddy, and proof of what I'm saying is that Teddy learned from that mistake, Dax, because he's not doing the same thing with Timothy Bradley. He's not. He's invoking his mental power, where he gets into Timothy Bradley's head, but he didn't change Timothy Bradley at all. Timothy Bradley wasn't doing anything that was, reminiscent of a Teddy Atlas style fighter. So I think he learned from. Literally, listen, let's face it, whether he wants to admit it or not, Alexander Povetkin and Teddy Atlas was a failure. It hurt both of those guys, and they both got second chances, and they're both doing well. I think it helped them, to be honest with you.
You could be right. I mean, that's, not inconceivable. But on the other hand, I think, our whole point was, when a trainer cares about the fighter, and what they project in the future. And at that point in time, and I believe Teddy said so, what he thought was just Alexander Povetkin was just not ready for Klitschko. And we don't know what happened inside of camp. You were speaking about, not a few minutes ago, a fighter who just believed their own press clippings. Well, we're not with the guys every day, so we really don't know, their mental, their mindset. We don't know how hard they're working in camp. And I'm not saying Povetkin in particular, but, anybody. We just don't know what's going on behind those scenes. And if a trainer cares about that fighter, they're the ones that knows, listen, this is what should be happening, and this is something that shouldn't be happening. Take a guy like Buddy McGirt. He's been criticized a lot for stopping fights too soon. But then again, Buddy McGirt knows his fighters. He knows their limits. He knows when they shouldn't take any more punishment. And then you get guys like, Freddie Roach, who just recently has shown, he's going to put himself above his fighter and let his fighter get half slaughtered in there if it works out better for Freddie Roach and nobody else. So, there's it's a fine line. And with so many belts, years ago, I would agree with you 100%. Once you're a champion, you're a champion. It doesn't matter if you got 10 fights, 20 fights, or 50 fights. You're a champion. You have to act like a champion. You have to defend against all comers, whether it's a unification, whether it's an undefeated prospect, and so on. But nowadays, just because you have a title doesn't mean that, you're ready and you're on that stage, because titles are so easy to come by.
Yeah,
and that's another thing that misleads the public and misleads a lot of these fighters. Well, I'm a world champion. I got a belt. But you know what? So do a lot of other people.
Yeah, but the problem is, first of all, you can't say that. You can't say, well, you're not that good. You're a world champion, but you're not that good, because it defeats the purpose. They're devaluing the title of being a world champion, and you can't say I'm still developing, but you're a world champion. You're a world champion that expects big bucks. You're a world champion that pounds on his chest and says he's the best out there. Everybody's afraid to fight me, but yet I still need to develop. No, I listen. Regardless of how many belts there are. And they hand out belts like parents hand out candy on Halloween. I mean, it's pathetic, But at the end of the day, it's still someone that's claiming and walking around saying that they are a world champion. And because of that, in my opinion, they have to fight tough fights. You can't have, these layups for every single fight. I'm critical of Deontay Wilder, but at the end of the day, he's got a chance to fight a Povetkin next and beat Povetkin. If he beats Povetkin, I'm going to be convinced about Deontay Wilder. And then I can't argue if he picks 2 or 3 fights to stay active against the Eric Molinas and the Johan Duhauses, and then, once a year, takes on a Povetkin. We can't complain about that. We're seeing a guy that's fighting big fights, so I don't know, man. Listen, if you're going to be a world champion and you're going to demand world championship type money and pay and television and press and all of that, you got to fight the fight. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel.
And I agree with you 100% on that. It's just, the sport, it's become so complicated. It's not what it used to be. No more do you have to, work your way through the rankings. And nowadays, what can make you a number one contender is proper press. Proper PR can make you a number one contender, because it doesn't matter what network it is. It doesn't matter, the fans. If they see enough of you, you put together the right highlight reels, you're going to become a sensation.
You know what? You know how they do the rankings now, Dax? And people, it's happened so subtly that nobody even realizes it. But you want to know the truth? And if there's anybody that's involved with a sanctioning body right now, I suggest you turn off your radio or just walk away, because the bottom line is this. And you think about this. Think about this. When you were watching boxing and following it, 10, 20 years ago, did you ever hear about all of the conventions that the sanctioning bodies were having, right? You hear, when you think of a convention, I used to think, 20 years ago, a convention to me was a plumbers convention. All the plumbers get together.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking about Ralph and Ed off the honeymoon.
Right.
Going to the,
they go to a convention. They
Raccoon Lodge convention.
Exactly. Maybe they get themselves
the
a hooker.
Flintstones, Fred and Barney going to the Water Buffalo convention.
Yeah, maybe they get themselves a hooker and have some fun. Get away from the family. And now what's happened is the sanctioning bodies hold these conventions, and they charge people to go. Like, you're paying to go to this convention to listen to it's like the Hall of Fame, to listen to somebody give a seminar or a topic or whatever else. But what also is being done is promoters and managers go and they make a case why their fighter should be moved up in the rankings or get a shot. And basically, you don't think they're getting donations? You don't think they're getting a little side money here and there? Come on, man. When you see a guy all of a sudden appear within the rules of doing a title defense that counts, all of a sudden, Eric Moline is a perfect example. The guy was nowhere to be found, and then all of a sudden he's number 12. He's ranked number 12, and Deontay Wilder gets to fight him because he's ranked number 12. Come on. Listen, those conventions is the breeding grounds for maneuvering your fighter into contention. And you're right. They're not working their way up the ladder anymore. I say it all the time. They're maneuvering themselves with somebody investing. That's why all these guys don't want to put their fighters in tough, because they've invested money that they want to get back. The manager wants to get that money back. They don't want the fighter to lose, because the fighter's got to win a couple of layup fights in order to get the deal that they made with the sanctioning body. It's awful, really.
It is, but that's the way the business goes now. It's more business than it is a sport. As they say, it's not your daddy's sport. This ain't your daddy's boxing. Like what Joel was saying before. That whole event that's coming up is it's going to have Ken Shamrock on there. It's going to have Dan Severn on. I believe it's going to have I think Kurt Angle, the former Olympian, WWE star, is going to be on there, and you have Roy Jones. He's going to fight a fan. What's odd about that is is now Ken Shamrock. He's going to fight Hoist Gracie, and the two of them are guys. They're in their 50s or they're close to 50. No, I think they're in their 50s. They're going to fight on I think the Bellator thing, and then you have. Big Bob Mirovic, great guy from Australia. He's 50 years old, and he's getting ready now to go for try and win the Australian title. He's in training right now. Speaking about Eric Molina, he's going to fight Thomas Adamek.
Right. I know. I mean, that's...
So it's like seniors tour.
Well, I just hope Sal Sinicola is not listening to the show, because then he'll be calling saying he wants to make another fight, So,
yeah, Sal Sen, he's Sal Sinicola versus Carlos Ortiz.
Right.
And Carl Froch, as we speak about guys that are branching out into other things, and the popularity, I believe Carl Froch is going to be in a new TV series with Jason Statham.
Oh, God. Hey, listen, man.
It's all turned, crazy, but we got some young guys coming up, and hopefully, soon enough, these young guys, they come up, they're fighting each other, Bill, and everything goes back to the way it used to be.
Well, we'll see what happens. But
and
listen,
hopefully, in the heavyweight division, hopefully Trevor Bryant, that's going to be a future world champion right there, I hope.
Well, I hope so too. But
He helped me. When he started over in the gym in Schenectady, our gym, I was telling him the other day. I said because somebody sent me a video of Hasim Rahman when Hasim was real young, and they sent me a picture of Cedric Kushner. And back when, right before Trevor started coming to that gym, Hasim Rahman was fighting a guy named Tui Tua. And Tui Tua was an old guy who needed some Christmas money, and Hasim Rahman was the guy that at that point in time they were building him up, and they were doing it the right way. They needed a canvas. Somebody from CKP came to us, and they asked us, do you have a canvas and a ring, because we can't get one over at the Pepsi before it became the Times Union. And so we had actually went there and set the ring up, and we rented out our canvas to him.
That's funny.
And, not only that, is, that canvas, not only that, it was used there, and that same night you had 3 other people that became world champions that night. On that same canvas, world champions and former world champions all fought that night on that same canvas. So, I'm hoping, for this kid's sake, I said to him, I'm hoping that this canvas brings you luck, because this is something right here that has been, traveled around the world. You had Vernal Phillips used to spar on that canvas. The Pompey brothers used to spar on that canvas. So, hopefully that brings him a little bit of luck, in his future.
Well, I'll be pulling for him, that's for sure. Hey, listen, Dax, we're going to run, but listen, just on a personal note, give me a shout at some point over the weekend, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Have a good night.
That's my man, Dax Khan. Check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. We have time for one more caller. Well, we technically have more than that, but I'm going to take one more caller. If you want to call, give us a shout, 845-228-8710, 845-228-8710. If no one calls in quickly, I'm going to pack it in. Fitty Cent. Have you been following the war between 50 Cent and Billy Dibb? Billy Dibb had accused 50 Cent for owing him $1 million and claimed that he ruined his career. Everything else, we all know that 50 went bankrupt. His promotional company went bankrupt, and Billy Dibb claims he owes him $1 million. Billy Dibb also went through a tragedy, losing his wife when she was only 21 years old. He's has not gotten over that. But apparently there is a war of words between these two. And 50 Cent is kind of pissed off that he was the subject of a lot of negative talk from Billy Dibb, and he's responded. And he said some pretty crazy stuff himself. He said that, he says that he helped him. He said that one of the reasons him and Floyd's relationship got, pressure on it or whatever you want to say was because Floyd was totally against Fitty signing Billy Dibb, and we saw Billy Dibb. I mean, Billy Dibb was, that was a signing, and I said to myself, why is he signing him? I mean, no disrespect to Billy Dibb, but this guy was not very good. He was a fighter that nobody wanted to even watch, and that's one of the things that 50 Cent says. He says he's ungrateful. He said the cable network, the U.S. Cable network, which of course he was referring to HBO, said he was unwatchable. And 50 Cent said, I still tried to get him going. He says he was 35-1, where he fought 21 cab drivers in Australia. And I got him a fight with Envy Gradovich, who beat the shit out of him. He says, even though that Gradovich didn't even have a month to prepare, he says, I get him a rematch. And, he gets knocked out again. He says it was terrible. He says, people have referred to 50 Cent as a lot of things, but not a thief. He says he doesn't owe him any money, and he hopes that the next time he gets in the ring, if he does, that he gets his ass kicked. So it seems like it's kind of not. They're not going to make up and make nice. So we'll see what happens. But as far as I know, I thought 50 Cent still had some fighters, didn't he? I thought he still was involved at some point with some fighters. But I personally, not to get involved with some of the shortcomings between Dib and 50 Cent, and but I personally never thought that Billy Dib was anything close to being a world championship caliber fighter. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, listen, the weather today up here in the Northeast is freezing cold, and it's going to get even colder. I found it funny. Usually when you check the Weather Channel, you got it tells you the high, the low, and all of this stuff. So I happen to have been looking for this area, and it's showing you, it's been progressively going down. Like, it's they say 9 degrees. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 19 below, and then the Sunday, all it says is cold. I'm like, shit, man. If it's 20 below tonight, what the hell is it going to be on Sunday? But anyway, we got another caller on the line. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It ain't much better in Michigan, Billy.
Hey, what's up, Mike? How you doing, man? Is it cold over? Is it cold out there?
It says mine's saying 12 degrees. Wind chill is negative.
Yeah, but I'm talking no wind chill. I'm not even counting any wind chill. It's just I was talking.
We had that last year.
Yeah, I was talking to Joel in the chat room before we went on air, and I was just saying, man, nobody should have to live in this. I happen to like the wildlife, the deer and all that stuff. And I wonder how the hell they live in it, man. I just don't get it. But what's on your mind, brother?
I just wanted to know if the fans still drove the show on Friday. And if they did, I just wanted to extend it because I missed most of it. And I wanted to say that I still love your show. I still do the podcast. And I wanted to give you some accolades, as you like to call them, and tell you that I really appreciate the show. That's all that's on my mind, Billy.
That's cool, man. I appreciate that. And, it is a fan-driven Friday. And I was just going, well, maybe I'll pack it in a little. And all of a sudden I saw a call coming in. I was like, oh, okay. But what's your thoughts on Chocolatito getting added to the Triple G card?
I don't know. I'm not that big of a fan of him.
Oh, really? I like him. I like him, and he's skilled. I just don't think he's what Oscar says he is. Oscar's in love with him. I don't know. He's very skilled, and it's just those lower weight classes are hard to get into sometimes. And he makes it easier, but it's still a little hard to get into, Well, he fights like a bigger guy, and could you imagine if he was a middleweight or something, he'd be a killer. He's like a Jack Dempsey.
I would love to see him. I would love to see him gain 10, 15 pounds and fight Lomachenko, because I think Lomachenko is the star out of all of them, including Rigondeaux. So I just hope we get to see some of the fights that we should see, like Rigondeaux, Lomachenko. Maybe they meet. I don't know.
Well, I was just telling Dax. I heard that Floyd Mayweather was saying that Chocolatito can't possibly be pound for pound number one unless he moves up in weight and fights Triple G. So I don't know.
Oh, whatever. Well, that's just ridiculous. But I don't see any problem with Rigondeaux and Lomachenko meeting, but I don't think that's going to happen. But there are some good fights to be made, and he's right at that cusp of. Man, if you put on just a little bit more weight, he'd be in the mix of everything,
Yeah, no, that's true. Rigondeaux's fighting on an undercard. Where I think he's fighting over in someplace. I think England. Yeah, he's fighting in England, right? He's fighting soon.
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, he is.
I don't care to see him after his last performance.
I know.
Because in his last performance, his corner was pleading with him, please throw more punches. Please throw more punches. And it was just like the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. And he's had so many chances on premium cable TV to show how good he is. And he's so much better than what he shows. But maybe he just fights up to the level of his competition. But I have to tell you one thing, Billy, before I leave here. Nito Donaire does not get the credit he deserves. Because he took on Rigondeaux, no questions asked. He took him on, No one else wants to fight Rigondeaux.
Well,
and I don't think Donaire gets enough credit for fighting him, then moving up and fighting Walters. Like he did what fighters should do, challenge himself.
I agree.
And even though he lost, I gain more respect for him.
I agree. Boxing to me is all about proving that you're better, doing things that are not the norm. Fighting or thinking outside the box. And I agree. I agree with you. Just remember one thing about Rigondeaux. He said, "Don't worry, next time I'm gonna be a lot more exciting."
Yeah, he said that five fights ago.
I know.
Come on.
I know.
I mean, that's just getting ridiculous. But I do think Nonito Donaire needs to get more credit. Basically, he's. I mean, and he rocked Walters too. He staggered Walters. I haven't seen anyone stagger Walters. Donaire did. He hit him with that left hook, and he hurt him.
Yeah, no, you know what? Nonito Donaire, he's got power. The problem with him is he became overconfident, and he moved up in weight too quickly, and some of his deficiencies were exposed. And now it's a battle to get back. But he does have a title now, right? I think he's wearing some kind of a belt. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to that though. But what I do pay attention is that he got older, and that he cannot really stay on his toes for very long. And that was key to a lot of his success, is when he was younger, his ability to be on his toes and box and then come at you with this just storm of punches. He's pretty flat-footed now, but I enjoy watching him fight every time he gets in the ring, because he puts ass into every one of his punches he throws, and I love that.
Yeah, he definitely he's not a dull fighter to watch. That's for sure.
No. I'll let you go, Billy, but I just want to call in and say thank you, and I miss talking to you.
All right, brother, you hang in there.
All right, you hang in there too with this 0-degree weather crap. Okay.
That's right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
That's Mike from Michigan in the cold weather. And I think he was having a couple of hot toddies to warm him up today. Either that or he's freezing outside. It's like when I watched my idol, Joe Namath. I was watching him with that famous interview with what's her name on. It was a Monday Night Football game, and they're interviewing him, and I'm going, man, Joe Namath sounds awful. He must be freezing, man. He's with Susie Colbert, and she's a cutie. And he's going, oh, yeah. And I'm going, man, poor Joe Willie, he's freezing. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, no, wait a minute. Joe Willie's not freezing. He's toasted, man. He's going, oh, I want to kiss you. I want to kiss you. He's saying this. If you guys never saw that, check it out. But anyway, hey, I'm giving you a little football background, too. But it is cold up here, and it's time for...
Wake up. It's time for the It's Too Early for a Trivia Question.
Oh, God. You got to be in the chat room to enjoy some of the stuff that goes on in there. But anyway, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. Question is being sponsored by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company and their unique spice, Kenny Bear's Barbecue Rub. If you haven't tried it, what the hell are you waiting for, man? It makes everything taste better. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go make a couple of pizzas. Not as good as Sal's, but I'm going to make a couple of pizzas as soon as this show is over, and I'm going to use some of Kenny Bear's Barbecue Rub on there. It's not just for barbecues. Check it out. You can get to... all right, my man Alex Propali just put the interview right up on the... right on the in the chat room with my man Joe Namath and cutie Susie Colbert. But anyway, you can get a bottle of Kenny Bears by visiting our website www.billycboxing.com. Fridays are always fun on the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. And just click the Southern Gourmet Spice banner. It's right there on the right-hand side. Now, our trivia question, which is a real tough one, was supplied to us by Henry Haskup. Man, is she? Joel's saying that she's 50 years old. I'll tell you right now, she looks better now. I just saw her on a show recently. She looks better now than she did 15 years ago. And so does Pam Oliver. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Pam Oliver. She got bumped. She's not on the main team anymore for NFL, but she's pretty too, man, and she's no spring chicken either. Anyway, this was a tough one from Henry. He said, "What did Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert have in common?" And I gave a couple of hints, and we had a lot of people really trying to get it right. And I want to give a shout out to my man Kent in California, who really worked hard at getting it right, and he eventually got it right. Except he was after my man Coach got it right. My man Coach knew that Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert both beat a father and son. Walcott beat Phil and Harold Johnson, and Colbert beat Rocky Mosley Sr. and Jr. And I also want to just throw in that I was giving Coach all the accolades for getting this question right, and he was doing and after all of this, and he had submitted a couple of other answers that weren't right. He was coming up with some good ones too, and he says he admitted to me. I probably shouldn't even say this, but he admitted to me that he was actually researching to write an article and stumbled across this. After all it is, he stumbles across it, but he ends up winning the prize. I'm going to send him something that I know he likes. So congratulations to Coach. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia question is this. Which International Hall of Famer lost to the most International Hall of Famers? Which International Hall of Famer lost to the most International Hall of Famers? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win a choice of some great prizes. That's a good one. I like that. So good luck to everyone on that.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history is being brought to us by my book. You knew I was coming with that, right? Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available. You guys could just recite it yourself by now, man. Why don't you just, if everybody on the planet just buys a book, we don't have to talk about it anymore. So if you're watching this show or listening to the show or whatever, and you don't have a copy of this, do us all a favor and get a copy. You can get a copy of Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, at any bookstore that sells quality books, or you can actually get one right now online by visiting Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Kindle, Nook. Now, if you're looking to get a signed copy, you know what you got to do. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section. On this day, February 12th, in the year 2000, Zab Judah knocks out Jan Bergman in the fourth round to win the vacant IBF World Junior Welterweight title. Took place in Connecticut. On this day in 1971, Kenny Buchanan wins a 15-round decision over Ruben Navarro to retain the World Lightweight title. Took place in Los Angeles, California. On this day in 1993, Tony the Tiger Lopez wins a 12-round decision over Dingaan Thioba to retain his WBA World Lightweight title. Took place in Sacramento, California. On this day in 1994, Tom Boom Boom Johnson wins a 12-round decision over Orlando Soto to retain his IBF World Featherweight title, and that took place in St. Louis. And on this day, February 12th in the year 2000, Costa Tszyu knocks out Ahmed Santos in the 8th round to retain his WBC Junior Welterweight title, and that took place at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. I appreciate you stopping by. If you're in the Northeast, bundle up. It's going to be cold over the weekend. And if you're someplace warm, screw you. No. If you're someplace warm, God bless you, because you're luckier than us. For all you lovebirds out there, make sure you have a nice Valentine's Day on Sunday. And, I meant to tell you this. I mean this. Don't forget to tune in Monday evening, same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, ciao, baby.